grande.
Negocio.
Dos grande.
Negocio.
Dos.
Mike.
Dos.
Welcome to the Big Biz Show, featuring insight, analysis, and a lot of stuff that's none of your business.
Hold on. This is the Big Biz Show. I think it is their business.
Making the markets work for you. Here's the man with the plan, Sully.
Another beautiful day in the Loft 100 Studios, sunny Southern California. Glad you guys are along for the ride. Mike Costa, Mary Bird Godwin, Greg Todoroff, of course, our man Sully.
Did I hear that you were? In Mexico recently?
I was down in wine country, Valle
Excuse me.
Guadalupe.
País de vino.
Lave sus manos, Mike.
See?
Happy Valle. Do you speak Spanglish, or do you try to speak Spanish?
I speak
or do
the
you
language
say like
of
"Donde está el," or are you like "Donde está el casa de Pepe"? or do you actually?
Excuse me, my man, but I'm looking for El Taco. No,
And by El Taco, I mean the taco.
No, I am terrible in Spanish, but yeah, I was down there in Ensenada recently. Beautiful.
Was that because you get Funyuns at wholesale from the? Do you know there's a Costco down there?
There's everything
Used to be a
down
price
there.
club down there.
Really?
Home Depot, Costco, Walmart.
Yeah. Well, we were part of Mexico at one point, and I think it's just going
Pretty
the other way
much.
now.
Some shows you can find on the dark web. Anyhow, it's a great place to visit. I was down there for a spay and
though?
neuter event
Okay.
Wait.
for
Okay, spay and neuter event.
for dogs.
I'm an event planner. I'd like to. So, was it an event like was there fanfare? Was there like, hi, I'm here for the spay and neuter event. My name's Mike Costa.
Right.
A pair of shears.
Time for the chippity choppity.
Wait, tell me, why would you say event? I'm just curious about the event thing.
My wife sits on the board of directors for a dog foster rescue group. Friends of ours.
Slips right off the tongue, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Mutt Dog Foster Group.
Sorry, muttscouts.org if you guys are thinking of adopting. Great friends of ours who are from Mexico. They pay the whole bill for the vets to come in. They foot the bill for
What was it
everything.
for underprivileged dogs? I don't understand that.
For people, because
People can't afford it?
pet control down there is as we know, isn't the greatest. So people want to get their dogs spayed and neutered. So our friends pay the whole bill, and you can just show up at any given time on this Saturday and get your dog spayed or neutered.
Wouldn't you want to have that like on a Tuesday? That seems like a Saturday thing. Like, Saturday thing.
I-
Saturday thing, go down for lobster on a Saturday.
I wish.
You know?
Yeah, but I literally am transporting dogs that have been sedated to an operating table in a room,
Oh, wow.
and they get it done. The vets
It's like
are
it
awesome.
reminds me of your years in college, Mike. You're transporting. Can I ask you this? Who holds the tray where where they bink, bink?
It's done It's done
Like
right
on the
there
side of
on
the road? Is this a sanitary
Oh yeah,
operation?
it's in a room, and they have these portable operating tables, and then whatever is taken away from the female or the male dog is deposited in a hazardous waste bucket.
And goes right over to Pedro's Tacos for the birria stand.
They're called
Now,
Ensenada oysters.
Do you ever raise money for this event?
We sure do.
And how much do you raise per year for this?
I think they're raising like $100,000 a year.
100 grand for
Yeah.
nip cut, nip tuck?
But this is a couple times a year in different parts of Baja California.
We haven't had our 4,000-pound, 1-year-old Bernese Mountain Dog.
How old is he?
He's 13 months. It's going to be great when I say.
go- you can go
It's going to be great when I say he's 63 months. No, he's 13. January, 13 months. Yeah.
Is he at full size now?
No, not even close.
Really?
Well, that's why you can't. Not yet.
No, and they say wait till he lifts his leg. I don't want to see him lift his leg. Guy's hung like a dinosaur.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's like it's a Bernese Mountain Dog, and the problem is he thinks he's a puppy. Because
They all do.
Leaps like this. Like you got to set your core when he's like in the house.
Exactly.
Like,
Is he also a lap dog?
Totally. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's actually a back dog because you see his lap when he's up in there. We got Howie Font coming up in this next. We didn't get to him because we're talking about Mike's event in Mexico. Lave sus manos.
I'll find some pictures. It's pretty great.
Oh, look
go.
at that. Have your
population,
pets
have you pets?
spayed
Yep.
and neutered.
You're just like
Hey,
Bob.
Bob Bark here. Here, Mike. Just take this and do your own
Love
thing.
that guy.
Big Biz Show. See you in a minute.
Oh my God.
I'm tired of this. I'm sick and tired of an 8 and 10 record.
No way. In the
to the Big Biz Show, featuring insight, analysis, and a lot of stuff that's none of your business.
Hold on. This is the Big Biz Show. I think it is their business.
Making the markets work for you. Here's the man with the plan, Sully.
Studios, Big Biz rolling on. Costa, Marybird Godwin, Greg Todoroff, our man Sully. A little slow on the uptake there. I was trying to
Get your events
What are we doing?
going for your event. You get yourself a.
Well, my
on the
wife,
event?
my wife actually sent pictures of the dog event,
Oh.
and I'm trying to get those sent
Let's
to our
not.
control room.
Let's not do. You know, Rick
wanna
DeVoe
see
sends me those kinds
photos.
of pictures. I don't want to see those kind of pictures.
Yeah.
Hey, I know. Let's gather around the fire kids and look at the spay and neuter event we just went to.
Yeah.
I want to see pics. Pics or it didn't happen.
Day trader trio right there. Hey, speaking of Mexico, do you know that Mexico has a stock market? No, this is not a joke. No.
It sounds
Hey,
like
two
it.
guys walking to a bar.
Yeah.
Right.
No, it's called the Bolsa.
Yes.
Do you guys have a number back there? Jared Coleman, our Emmy Award-winning director, and Chris Castillo, one of our producers back there, along with Curtis Manovich and Christian Cyber and Chloe. So right now, that is the Mexican Bolsa is at 55,531. Okay, that would be the S&P. I don't think that's the Bolsa. I think that's the S&P exchange traded fund for the Bolsa. But either way, the Bolsa itself is the stock market, the amalgamation of Mexican company stocks
Okay.
that used to only be Mexican company stocks. Now they include some U.S. companies that Mexico is invested in. But it used to be negative 13,000. Oh, you realize, so do you know what the number means? And bring up Howie Font here. Howie Font, with the best hair in New York City as well as across the country, is our resident analyst here. But if you think about the number that is the Dow, what is the Dow at today, Howie? What's the number of today, roughly?
We're just under 40,000.
Okay, so 40,000. That means from the beginning of time in the Dow, and I think the Dow came in about, 19, 20, 25, something like that. It's 30 companies. It changed oftentimes. It represents the biggest piece of our economy. Used to be U.S. Steel. Now even Facebook was in it. It was in the Dow at some point. Long story short, this represents the ups and downs going on from the beginning of the Dow, and we're almost 40,000.
Okay.
Okay, so obviously stock markets always go up. It's like real estate always goes up, right? The Bolsa, not necessarily investing in, I mean, over time, I should say.
Sure.
markets go up. Investing in the Bolsa has not proven that because it was in the negative for some years. And imagine investing in the stock market. And today in the imagine saying today on the Dow Jones, we're negative 13,000. Not as bad as yesterday, we were negative 14,000. So speaking of, keep that business stuff up in Mexico. Drive that GDP over there, Mike.
That's right.
Okay.
Keep
I will
doing
do
your
my part.
dog snipping events. It'll be fantastic. Howie, what do you got for us today?
Bigger hair.
Well, I wanted to retread a topic that I've talked about a few times. And like Mike's drinking in wine country, the federal government continues to go overboard.
Listen, I love this. Didn't you say last time the money they spend in one day equals whatever since the pyramids of Giza?
Yeah,
If you had
that's
half $1 million bucks a day or something like that, what was that number?
It was 6 months federal spending is as much as it would be if you made $500,000 every day since the Great Pyramid of Giza was built. I mean,
$500,000 a day.
crazy.
If you had a $500,000 bucks a day to spend,
Oh my.
Yep.
that represents
Holidays,
6 months
weekends,
spending of the
everything.
federal government going back to the days of the pyramids. My goodness. So give us another nugget. I feel like there's one coming on.
Well, I'm on this again because it's fairly frustrating, and I want to know what you think, Sully. We're just about at the end of May, and the end of May will signify $3.9 trillion of federal spending just this year to date.
What does that equal to?
3.9 trillion. It's
That's a $500,000 a day since Jesus. It goes back. The long story short is, in terms of spending. Now this isn't deficit. And we'll bring up usdebtclock.org here so you can see the speedometer.
Oh,
that is
no.
our
I don't
US
want
debt. Now keep in mind, but I want to explain the debt thing because it is not as bad as you think it is. Because a lot of this debt that's held by foreign companies is bonds. They're investing in U.S. debt. So this is not that we owe a credit card payment of $20 trillion. But if we can bring that chart up there when you guys get a chance of usdebtclock.org, you see there our national debt now $34 trillion. 780 million and change.
Why is it going so
I know, it's
fast?
like it's moving really quickly.
It's $104,000 roughly per citizen of the U.S.
Whoa.
But and that includes babies, but per voter, okay, per voter, or I should say taxpayer, is what $267,000 per voter is what our debt is. Now debt's different than the spending, but they tie hand in hand because what is it costing us to spend this kind of money, Howie? Because this is the ugly part.
Well, the ugliest part is the net interest that we pay every year, and I've shown this before, but it has exceeded Social Security, but it's exceeded almost every other thing in the federal budget. National defense, Medicare, Medicaid is all less than what we pay on interest on that $34 trillion. So at some point, there's going to be a breaking point where, yes, Sully, people love our securities. It's the epitome of security in investing. But at some point, they're not going to want federal debt as much.
Well, but let me push back on you. By the way, I agree with you, but I'm going to push back because there are those people that say, because we've been saying this for 20 years. We've been saying this since national debt was in the billions, not the trillions. And we say someday. It never happens. Why do we really care? Is it come down to us being a global currency still at some point? Because I don't see any company or any country that's vying for global currency other than maybe digital currency at some point in terms of like what they did when they saved a couple economies in the past. But the bottom line is we've been talking about the fact that countries are not going to want to buy our debt forever, but they do want to buy our debt because we're good at paying it back. We're good at redemptions. We're good at coupon payments. We're good at...
We are the best turd in the punch bowl.
We
yes,
are, exactly.
Right.
Or the least dirty shirt in the hamper, but if you want to use that, that would be okay. Howie, thanks for bringing that one up.
Yeah.
Whew,
No, you're right. It's a race to the... It's a race for the best currency, not the...
But at the same time, speaking of race, is it a race to the bottom, though, when it comes down to yields on our debt? Because why do you invest in debt? Well, because you can, number one, it's a safe bet. Number two, why do we have bonds? Well, banks can't afford to loan the government money to build a bridge. It's too much cash. So they float a bond. They say, we're going to owe this money. We want you to buy a piece of our debt, and we're going to pay you back an interest rate or a yield and a return. Doesn't it, after a while, that bond, the yield curve, which affects the stock market, go down to where it's not worth investing in bonds anymore, and then we're in a banana republic in terms of investing? Is that the real danger, in your opinion?
That's the real danger. That's where this is going to come to a head. At some point, it is going to be too much. We are going to exceed our debt to GDP ratio too much. Japan's trying it right now. We are the world's reserve currency, so we have a little bit longer because no one else is doing it.
Yeah, but what are we leaving our grandkids? I mean, honestly, I sort of feel like the digital currency might be the savior of all this thing if it could get regulated. Is that overstating?
Well, I think it will in that it's competition. So if you have Bitcoin or stable coins that aren't going to move in value, things like gold as well, then the U.S. government has to compete with that, and people are going to go to something stable, quote unquote, like Bitcoin will be at some point, is the theory. Instead of going into U.S. Treasuries.
Hey, Howie, on Tuesday's show, tomorrow's show, I want you to talk to us about stablecoin. We used to talk to Ben Ayers from Rival about stablecoin. Never really understood the stablecoin versus Bitcoin. What do I do? His name is Howie Font. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. See you tomorrow.
Greatest hair ever.
Smartest kid on Wall Street. Does that just feel like you're in trouble when he's with, like, Mike's like, nothing?
Yep. Oh, I just sit there and take the slings and arrows.
Have you invested in any Bitcoin or any digital currency?
Have you? No.
Have you dipped your toe in it?
No.
Have you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I mean, but it was very calculated. I knew when I was going to get in and get out. I knew before I got in how to get the cash out, because one of the biggest problems was you could invest in it, but how do you get the money
how do you get out?
for a while? That's all been sort of taken care of, but I can tell you, in the name of good business, I think we already have digital currency. I mean, I've got the same $40 in my wallet I've had for 6 months, and so do you. We don't use cash. You use cash when you tip a valet, right? I don't remember the last time I used cash. I mean, it's usually for tipping, honestly. There's, or for paying for a haircut.
I have a $100 bill that
you go south with.
Yeah.
Is it a lucky hundy?
Yeah, well, it's always in my shoe when I go south.
But let me ask you this though: Is it would you feel insecure if you didn't have that $100 bill in your wallet? Like, is it behind your driver's license or something? Not as a bribe, but I'm saying.
No,
because I know people have
always good to have
lucky 20 in their wallet or something.
Yeah.
Do you?
Good to have. I have a lucky $2 bill. In my
Really?
wallet. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That'll get you a lot.
Stack of $2 bills in my change thing, in my bureau, in my closet. And I don't know, I can't remember how, but I think I was, as it turns out, in Mexico. And I got it back as change. Like they gave me 20 of them. Because I think they're prevalent. So I'll trade you $60 for my $22 bills if you want.
Here you go.
Yeah.
There you go. When my mom was still dancing in Vegas,
Ooh, wow, that's interesting. Hold on.
That's a whole show right there.
Tassels, some of the tassels smelling like Old Spice. Yeah, I understand why she came home, Mike. I'm sorry, Michael. Were you 16? This is Mike's childhood,
Star
folks.
attraction, the hacienda. No, she when she and my dad would go to Vegas, she would come home with you actually put silver dollars.
Was it Uncle Daddy or was it really Daddy?
In the slot machines, and we've got a box of silver dollars in our safety deposit box from like the 60s.
That's cool.
They used to come over. In case you guys are wondering. It is the Big Biz Show, live from the Loft 100 studios here in sunny Southern California. In over 175 countries, all this is to see on the American Forces Network. To our brave men and women of the United States Armed Forces, as always, thank you for what you do for us. Costa, Mary Bert Godwin, Greg Todorov, Sully.
Mike Costa.
Yes, sir.
Don't call me sir, just call me Admiral. We've talked about this before.
That's what I call my father-in-law, by the way.
Have you ever been to Europe?
Yes.
You have. Where'd you go?
We've been Italy, France, England, Spain.
Have you been to Scotland?
I've been to Scotland as well.
Have you?
Way north up by the friggin'
Did you talk like this?
Oh my God.
Did you unite the clans?
Well,
Did you unite us? Unite the clans. Did you unite us?
better to die on your feet than live on your knees. Yes, I have.
Of course.
Everyone goes right to Braveheart.
Mary said, I thought my brothers were moved to Minneapolis and Nova Scotia. The reason I bring it up is, of course, Brian Kobel.
Is that where he is?
Is Kobel.
Yes.
By the way, Greg, is it Kobel or is it Kobel?
I think it's Kobel. I keep telling you.
No,
Kobel.
you keep telling us it's
I've told you
Kobel.
that from day one. It's Kobel.
I thought it was Cobble.
Brian, how is I could do a mic thing right. I should do a mic thing here, shouldn't I? How is lovely old Scotland? I should do a Dumb and Dumber like Mike Costa would do. Oh my gosh. How's the Blarney Stone there in Scotland? Oh my God.
Good day, mate.
Hey, great to have you.
Put another shrimp on the ball before us, Brian.
Oh my God.
Brian, I'm sorry.
I know. The reason I was talking about it is because Brian and I are meeting up there later in the month to talk to investors and such like that. So I was just saying, have you been there? Because you seem like a guy that would have been there.
Oh, I love Scotland.
Do you?
Yeah. Scotland's
But did you talk like that? Because Brian, when you're there, they stop you and say, "Oh, you have an accent," and
Yes.
you're just a guy.
They do. Well, I think that's what they're saying. I don't really understand them. 90%.
I can't really understand this. I know, because sometimes you talk to a Scottish guy.
Thick. Forget it.
It's thick. It's thick.
Yeah.
It's thick as molasses.
Right.
What do you see when you look out of a hole, Michael? Molasses. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry, Brian. We're going to go over for you today since we're. Hey, listen. Last time we were on the phone and on Zoom, you talked about TCB-008 as the lead product for the therapeutic in multiple diseases, but we didn't get to the multiple diseases. And we talked last time about how we're going to talk about this. This is a panacea. Talk about this a little bit, because it really is sort of a panacea. I know you can't say it as a CEO, but I can say it because I'm just a pundit. So tell us about that. I think that's important, because this is not just, we're not just focusing on one malady here.
No, it's the first kicker, right, obviously, is blood tumors or acute myeloid leukemia. We're moving now rapidly into antifungal. So aspergillus and candida. Aspergillus is something you get, usually when you're immune suppressed or immune compromised. We're looking at solid tumors. We have an autoimmune angle as well. So, the gamma delta is really an incredible cell, and it's so ubiquitous as it pertains to fighting diseases that we're just looking to leverage that as much as we can.
Brian, the rest of 2025, you anticipating some big inflection points?
Yeah, we have a bunch. So we've shipped some products. We expect to dose our first patient in the second quarter of our phase 2b in acute myeloid leukemia. So we should see a data readout probably before the end of the year, showing what we expect to be safety and efficacy again, which we saw in our phase 1b as well. We also expect to close at least 2 acquisitions in the next 90 days, let's call it.
Sure.
Additionally, we're pretty close, I think, to finalizing a collaboration here in conjunction with another company in the cell therapy space. Again, this use of the gamma deltas, it's not an immune cell, it's an immune system, right? So we're excited about what we're seeing. NK cells and gamma delta cells work really well together. You've seen a lot of great activity in the CAR NK world lately. We believe the gamma deltas will leverage into that. There are a lot of companies that are trying to turn cold tumors hot to gamma deltas and draw them in because they orchestrate immune responses. So they bring in other immune cells to the sites of tumors. So, we're looking at a lot of those opportunities, and we think we're pretty close to getting one sorted here and moving forward in another oncology indication.
Brian Kobel, the CEO of TC Biopharma Holdings, NASDAQ TCBP, with us here on the Big Biz Show.
I got a question, Brian. And this is like, when you go to buy a new car, all you can see is the car you intend on buying on the road. Everywhere you go, it's not like everyone has one. Why am I hearing about allogenic gamma delta suddenly? Is this because you've been talking about it, and I know that of course Siri is listening to my phone, but honestly, if you look at the news cycle, it's actually something that is front and center in biopharma and biotech. Is there a reason why that is? There's more biopharma research being done, or is it just being brought to light because of the problem it causes, the problem itself?
I think it's a combination. Yeah, no, it's a combination. It's a combination of things, right? You are right. There's more sort of research going on and coming out. But I think a lot of it is, if you look at the issues with cell therapy and some of the major hurdles that need to be cleared before you can really be, a standard of care, commercial, economically viable product, the allogeneic gamma delta cell does a lot of that. One, you can mass manufacture it in commercial grade, commercial scale, because you donor cells to grow them up. They're really active. They're highly toxic in the system relative to the cancer, but they're also extremely safe to the patient. So you can put hundreds of millions, billions of these cells in and don't see a cytokine storm. You don't see any sort of side effects. Maybe a little bit of a tummy ache for about 3 minutes, but no big deal. Obviously,
watch this show when Mike opens the segment.
Yeah. So it's one of those cells that, if you're trying to create an immune response, it's an immune responder, and it tends to orchestrate immune responses. It tends to be the conductor. If you think about it, since we're in Scotland, you were talking about Braveheart, the gamma deltas are like the Scots, right? They're sort of this smaller population of the cells. And they're fighting the British, which are, cancer, and they run to the middle and they meet the Irish, the other immune responders, and they go, okay, let's go kill the British.
But
right?
they're there.
Right.
Right. What interesting here is that this positions you sort of as a small biopharma, as a leader in this suddenly, because it's not that you're a little train that could, but between the acquisitions that are being announced and between the allogenic gamma deltas that you're kind of leading the league on, suddenly this makes you guys sort of front and center. How are you dealing with all with the notoriety and the phone calls? Because I got to believe when you go to LD Micro, or you go to Biocom, or you go to ASCO or any of these other ones, you're going to get pinned. You're going to get cornered.
Yeah, I'm excited. Actually, I'll be in Boston next week. I'm speaking at a conference. I think it's the 6th Gamma Delta Summit or something like that. And when we get a lot of notoriety and a lot of questions about what we're doing and how can we work together and things like that. I think what's really exciting is, to your point, this is going to be one of those stories where, investors don't really pay attention. And then all of a sudden, in 12 months, when cell therapy's back and we're a CAR NK, CAR gamma, everything, they're going to go, oh, we were here all along.
Yeah.
We loved you guys.
Right. Well, don't be surprised if you see Howie Font, our lead analyst, and our cameraman there next week, taking a picture of you over there, because we may be following you on the camera more than we always.
I sign autographs.
There you go. Brian Kobel, TCBP. Of course, TCBP is their stock symbol, but TC Biopharma is their name. Biopharm, I should say. TCBP, there you go. Thanks, Brian. All right, coming up next, Dr. Jonathan Javits. We're going to talk about a thing called akathisia. Loft 100 Studios, the Big Biz Show, and our affiliates and our hosts are not registered investment advisors or broker-dealers.
Our show hosts make no commitment that the purchase of securities of companies profiled or otherwise mentioned in our programming
are suitable or advisable for any person, or that an investment in such securities will be profitable in general.
Given the nature of the company's profile and the lack of an active trading market for the securities, investing is highly speculative and carries a certain high degree of risk.
We profile selected publicly traded and privately held companies on our program.
Most of these companies that we profile have provided compensation to Loft 100 Studios and its hosts for the profile coverage.
From time to time, we sell shares of the companies profiled in the open market that we receive as compensation for coverage of client companies.
But never sell stocks. If we are speaking about interviewing or covering a public company who has paid compensation.
Specific questions on compensation can be obtained by contacting producer at SullyAntGroup.com.
Listeners should verify all claims and do their own due diligence before investing in any securities mentioned on this program.
Investing in securities is speculative and carries a high degree of risk.
We encourage our investors to invest carefully and read the investor information available at the websites on the
Securities and Exchange Commission at sec.gov and or the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, FINRA, at www.finra.org.
The Big Biz Show continues on a beautiful day here in Southern California for the Loft 100 Studios.
I'm more afraid of the treatment. Like if I got the sentence,
for sure.
like I'm like thinking, I'm gonna look like Dr. Evil.
Yeah.
Like, But it's not just that. It's the fact that you realize that these guys are sleeping all day, and their quality of life goes down. Talk to us about what is the treatment like, Lou? What's the tiebreaker here?
Okay. The problem is an issue of delivery to the tumor, right? So we have, you're absolutely right. Many people fear the treatment, and unfortunately, in many cases, the treatment actually kills the patient before the disease, or you feel so sick that you want to die. Our approach is very different. We have developed a delivery technology that allows for drugs to become soluble in fat and water, and we inject directly into the tumor. The tumor now will absorb the drug, and with the agents that are comprised of our product, they're very potent cytotoxic agents that are actually given intravenously normally, but now we give them intratumorally. We kill the tumors that we can see, and what we see is the tumor converts into your own personalized anti-cancer vaccine. In your body, we are converting the tumor as it dies to something that can be recognized by the immune system. So we kill the cancer in the body, and as the body now has the immune system engaged, it starts to attack the tumors we don't inject. We've seen survival increase significantly. We don't have to treat all the tumors. We are able to actually, in the whole body, get a systemic immune response that allows us to debulk with our direct injections and kill. The drugs stay in the tumors. The patients don't feel the kind of grade 3 and 4 adverse events that you normally have with cytotoxic agents going over the whole body. It is a highly favorable safety profile that we've seen in 200 patients, and what we are planning now is to do our last stages of development, a phase 3 study in sarcoma, which is a deadly disease, and a phase 2 study that will be in pre-surgical breast cancer. So we can treat both metastatic disease and disease that's pre-surgical. It will be, if this works, a historic study, and we will be very excited about helping people live better, longer quality of lives with our new therapy.
Lou, thank you. To hear about the drug is so incredible. I want you to tell a little bit of your story. I was just reading a little bit about it. Can you go into, the new investigational new drug approval and how quickly you guys moved, and is it stage 1 and 2 at the same time? You did something like that. I'd really love to hear your story and how intensity was able to
First of
progress
all,
so quickly?
well, thanks. It's Howie. Thank you, Howie.
Yes.
Well, look, I am an entrepreneur. I started this company with the idea in my basement, and I thought about it, and I quickly recognized the need to partner with the National Cancer Institute, and we collaborated very early on with the National Cancer Institute, and we published papers jointly with them. The idea being these are existing drugs, they're well known. The delivery enhancer that we use is well known. It's used in an oral commercial product that's treating weight loss. And what we've done is we've combined this new delivery technology with these very potent agents to create this. And the FDA actually allowed us to have a very rapid preclinical program because the drugs were well known. We didn't have to do as many preclinical studies thanks to the FDA. We then moved very quickly. And you know, what's really important is when a drug can work, what you see is doctors putting patients on it. And so in our studies where we got the sickest of the sick patients, the patients that really were going to die if they didn't get some experimental therapy, and doctors would put patients in and then they would see their patients feeling good and living longer when we got to the, to larger and larger doses. And they kept putting more and more patients. So we were able to move through phase 2 studies very rapidly because the drug appeared to be helping patients in the programs that we were running. And so we've gone back to the FDA multiple times. We just received in December the ability of us to start the phase 3. And the difference between a phase 3 study in medical and pharmaceutical development and all the phase 2s is like playing in the NBA when you're in phase 3 versus high school in phase 1 and phase 2. So because the drug appeared to have very good properties and effectiveness and safety, the doctors were putting patients in, and we were allowed to enroll very quickly into our phase 1, phase 2 studies so that we could move rapidly into phase 3. And when we presented the data to the FDA and our manufacturing and our scale up and all of the tasks that are necessary to get into phase 3, we were able to rapidly move with FDA into an agreed upon study protocol design that will allow us to once and for all show this new technology can work in a randomized controlled study where we will help people with sarcoma in phase 3. And it is been rapid because the drug, I think, has shown the promise that we hope will live out in the larger studies.
Lou, as far as this approach is concerned, have the results been what you thought, or are they blowing you out of the water?
I thought that this drug would need some sort of concomitant therapy. And when we started looking at the mouse data already, we realized that we didn't need it. What we were seeing was much improved survival than what would be expected. And I'm not talking a small, like 2 months here or 3 months, which is important. What we were showing was patients who normally would be in these kinds of studies, they typically live 6 to 7 months. 9 months maybe, even when they're healthier. And what we were showing was 21 and a half months, or even when we were getting higher doses and not just underdosing, we were seeing that we hadn't even reached the halfway mark in survival. So instead of 6 months or 7, overall, we're seeing 21 to 25, but when we look at the data in patients who we now know are getting the right dose, we have not yet seen the median survival. And when we stopped the studies, that was the case. So we're seeing results that are much better than you would have expected for this very sick patient population that you enroll in phase 2.
Mm-hmm. And Lou, as you go into phase 3, do you have any idea how long that will take?
Again, it's all a function of how well the drug works. So if the drug shows, we're going to go head to head against standard of care. I believe this is the first local therapy that's been authorized by the FDA to start phase 3 studies in a metastatic disease, meaning a disease all over your body, compared to an active standard of care, best current therapy. So what we hope to do is to enroll quickly, just like we were doing in the phase 2, and then we've overpowered it, we believe, such that we could see an endpoint at an earlier time point. So we are going to take 3 interim looks, early, middle, and somewhat later, in the process of getting to our overall endpoint design. So we will be looking for efficacy and safety earlier than what you'd normally expect. So the time frame, How long will it take to enroll? Well, if the doctors are seeing the patients who get the intratumoral therapy living longer, we believe their enrollment will be rapid, more rapid than what we're planning. Now, we're planning a very conservative enrollment timeframe between 12 and 15 months, maybe even longer. And then obviously we're looking for an overall survival endpoint. So you're going to have to wait for people to live or die. Unfortunately, that's the best that's what the gold standard is for FDA. It's a binary endpoint. We hope we're going to keep a lot more people alive. We hope we have to stop this study before the endpoint. But ultimately, it all depends on how good the drug is and how rapidly the doctors see it so that they can put more and more people on.
His name is Lou Bender. My goodness.
Phenomenal.
Will you come back with us, Lou?
You know, I'm going to be in San Diego for the big bio conference in June, and I would love to get into the studios.
I want you here next week. I want you to co-host. Come on, Lou. Lou Bender.
Well, you feel better about such a terrible subject after you talk with people like Lou Bender.
Yep.
Knowing that there's somebody 1,000 times smarter than you addressing something that probably has affected you or somebody.
Talk about a guy who's
absolutely.
tip of the spear. He's got.
It is the Big Biz Show, live from the Loft 100 studios here in somewhat sunny, somewhat rainy Southern California, wherever you're listening, watching. Hope you're having a great day. Costa, Mary Burt Godwin, executive producer Greg Todoroff, and Sully.
Hey.
How you doing?
Good, good.
What's happening?
We got a busy show today. I want to get right to it. Steve Brady is the CEO of Tempest Therapeutics, of course, a regular guest in the program. We had a good chance to sit down with him at J.P. Morgan conference, and boy, what a difference at J.P. Morgan this year. Last year, J.P. Morgan said biotech was going to drop off the face of it. This year, it's been fantastic. However, an interesting thing happened because during all the changes in biotech last year, everybody had to sort of reprice their expectations at the end of January, which has made it very difficult for biotech firms to raise money in the first quarter of this year. So the latest news has been there'll be lots of money on the horizon, but right now these companies have got to stick with what's the positive news they've had, sort of leaning on their laurels. And Steve Brady's one such company that can do that because he's had nothing but great news. Steve, great to see you today. Welcome to the show. What's the latest, man? You're curing cancer. You're saving lives, dude.
Thank you very much for having me back, first of all. And that is what we are trying to do. Exactly. And you're right, Sully. It was a different J.P. Morgan for Tempest this year. Not only was the sentiment better broadly for the sector, but we showed up with randomized phase 2 data in liver cancer. So that sets up a very different set of conversations.
So in given that, talk about the difference between last year and this year, and then all of a sudden talk about the first quarter of 2024 and what the sentiment is with you guys and what's happening next.
Well, the sentiment at JP Morgan was completely different than the last two JP Morgans, right? I mean, as you mentioned, last January was doom and gloom. This one it just felt like a whole bunch of people wanting to get back to work, financing companies that have data. And the sentiment that we heard specifically for us was it must be good to be you guys here and able to talk to people about having these randomized data and what comes next, for the company. And that's a pivotal study in liver cancer and first-line liver cancer.
Steve, as the CEO, whether it's doom and gloom or it's great news, is the message to the troops always, hey, nose to the grindstone, just keep pressing on, don't listen to what they're saying?
Mike, absolutely. We're data-driven people, by our wiring, right? And so when you have positive data like this, and as you guys know, we had these data. We tried to tell everybody that we thought the data we were going to release were going to be good, and we had a ridiculous market cap.
Yeah.
So yeah, last year was exactly what you just said. We kept having to look in the mirror and say, it doesn't matter what they're saying. We know we're helping patients. We have gold standard data here, and people will recognize that. And everybody saw what happened in October, and now we're rolling into this year with a ton of energy.
Hey, Steve, talk about the lead drug candidate.
Yeah, so it's called TPST-1120, and we didn't go into the background of the company, but Tempest has 4 programs ranging from very early stage research, which is on a target that we're not sure anybody's working on for cancer, all the way up to 1120, which is right now post-phase 2, proof of concept data, randomized data. It is what's called a PPAR alpha and This means it's targeting a target called PPAR alpha. And one of the things that's really exciting about this and why we think we're seeing what we're seeing in liver cancer is that this target is expressed not only on liver cancer cells, but also on cells in your immune system. And one of the things that got me excited when I first joined the company was that these two lead programs that are in the clinic were designed to have this dual mechanism of action. A lot of things will either work on the immune system or they'll hit a cell directly. And 1120 is designed to do both. And that could be what's happening, why it's working.
With respect to that, so you talk about gold standard data. What's next with respect to the story with the FDA and getting
so great question. So that's 100% everybody's full speed ahead getting ready for those conversations this year. There's a series of regulatory conversations that we plan to have this year, and it won't just be with the FDA. This is a global indication. Liver cancer, it's around almost 400,000 new cases a year globally. It's massive. And it's one of the few cancer types that's growing. A lot of cancers, as you know, we're making inroads, whether it's lifestyle or drugs, and they're shrinking, not liver cancer, not for the foreseeable future. So our next steps are to finalize the design of that phase 3 and start it as fast as we can.
Hey, Steve, you've got 3 additional programs. Let's talk a little bit about TPST-1495.
Yeah, so 1495 is completely different. We joked about ibuprofen and some of us who kind of live on it. 1495 is in a pathway called the prostaglandin pathway. It is also designed to have that dual mechanism where it hits cells directly and uses the immune system. And that's behind, obviously, 1120. That's in a much more narrow, focused set of studies. And then we have 2 research programs. One in that's TREX1 in the STING pathway, which you may have heard is a pretty high interest target amongst big pharma and biotech. And the 4th one we haven't disclosed because, like I said, we're not sure anybody's working on it, and we want to make sure we're the furthest when we open that and talk about it.
Last of all, with respect to 2024, anything specific that's leading as far as your attention? Is it still TPST-1120, or is it something?
Oh yeah, I mean, Sully, 1120 is a company and a program.
Yeah.
I mean, based on the data we have, everybody's talking to us about liver cancer, but then the next thing out of their mouth is renal cancer. Yeah. We presented positive data in our phase 1 in RCC. People want us to look there. We want to look there. So it's potentially a multi-cancer molecule.
When do you find that out? When do you start getting confirmation of those types of things, where it's not just a matter of let's look over here, let's actually put some resources towards here?
So that would be this year as well. And like you just said, resources. If the capital markets come back the way they should and they're driven by data, we would start another randomized study, probably randomized phase 2, just like we did in liver. We would start that in renal cancer and get it going as fast as we can. We have really interesting data there. And just like liver cancer, it should work in renal cancer. So the science here that was the origin of the program is matching with the medicine and the data that we're seeing in people.
Any other cancers beyond that you can hint to, or is it just conjecture at that point?
Well, I mean, the scientist would say it's conjecture because we don't have the data. But when TPST-1120 was started inside Tempest, it started out as a hematologic malignancy or a blood cancer. And everything we're doing, liver and renal, are solid tumors. And so we'd absolutely love to look back and see, is this going to work in blood cancers as well? Like I said, it could be a company and a program.
Yeah, exactly. His name is Steve Brady. Steve Brady, of course, is the CEO of Tempest Therapeutics. Tempest Therapeutics. Stock symbol TPST. Innovative, targeted, and immune-mediated cancer therapies. Fantastic stuff. He's finding a cure for liver cancer.
That's unbelievable.
And he's Tom's better-looking brother.
Yes, he is. I love his work. With the
like
pads.
they slid that in
Big
there.
Biz Show. More to come.